Hello, this is Stephen Whitfield with Drilling Contractor. Today I'll be speaking with Caroline Alting, Head of Integrity and Projects at Maersk Drilling, on its sustainability efforts and the role technology can play in helping the company reduce carbon emissions in its operations. Ms. Alting, thank you very much for joining me today.
You're very welcome.
So I want to start with this question. Maersk has set an ambitious emissions intensity reduction target, 50% reduction by 2030. And the company has identified a number of levers that can help hit that target. For the people watching this today, could you tell us what those levers are and how they help?
Sure, I'll be happy to. So we believe that we can hit 50% of our target with a combination of efficiency gains and known technology. So by efficiency gains, we mean by larger collaboration with our customers and the suppliers offshore, thereby being more efficient, drilling faster, and thereby less emissions from a single drilling operations. Secondly, known solutions that we believe we can get help from is what we've already tried today. We've tried a rig on shore power. We've had installations of low emissions equipment on 2 jackup rigs. And we think there's more there of known technology that we can do to improve our current emissions. Then there's new solutions that's also coming into a new perspective. So biofuels, how much biofuel can we use? Can we use biofuel in our current setup? How much change do we need to accommodate biofuel, for example, or different types of fuels? So we believe there's something there we can work with. And then in the end, there's carbon offsets we can use, right? So if that is our least preferred option, of course, and the last place to go, but we believe that that's an option as well. The other half of our target is still to be gained from unknowns. It's that also really shows the picture of how big a challenge we've given ourselves here. It's a stretched target, and we don't think there's a silver bullet to reach this target, but we're going to give it a real go and see how much we can do within the next 10 years. We've decided to measure this emission on 3 parameters. So we will measure CO2 per drilled meter, CO2 per contracted day, and CO2 per revenue. And these, on all 3, we want a 50% reduction. And we've established 3 targets or 3 measurements because of the complex situation the rigs can be in. When drilling, they have a higher emission. When not drilling, they have, of course, less emissions. And we want to be able to set a target that drives the right behavior at any given place for the rig and at any given time for the rig, so that we get to drive a real change with these.
So Maersk has brought up the value of new technological solutions in reducing carbon emissions. The idea of technology being a salve for the emissions problem is not a new one. So what is Maersk doing to facilitate research and development efforts in this space?
So Maersk has invested significantly in innovation over the last 3 years. We currently have an innovation department of around 25 people, and one of their main missions is to focus on how we reduce our emissions, to find solutions and opportunities within this space. And they do so by working with both internal experts, but also external experts, both within our field, the drilling business, but also outside our business, to see if there's opportunities and business models or ideas we currently haven't seen or haven't looked at. And identifying those opportunities, of course, they have in the back of their minds that we possess through the industry, but also as Maersk Drilling, a high engineering acumen, and we've developed that over several years, right? That we have a high degree of technical acumen. So if any of the solutions depend on that, then we already have an asset right there. So they focus very much on what we've already built of competencies in our company. But we are also looking outside our competencies and outside our skill sets to see if there's anything in the startup era or startup community that we think could benefit us. especially in the digital field. I think there's some interesting things going on that I think would benefit us in the long run. So innovation is using all their networks and scouting abilities to sort out these solutions and opportunities for us.
When looking at the implementation of new technologies to help reduce emissions, how much do you prioritize the workflow on the rig? What are the challenges to making sure that any new technology doesn't negatively impact workflows and therefore efficiency or performance?
Yeah, I think adapting any new technology in any case and anywhere basically, but certainly also offshore, requires a lot of preparation. And I think one of the items that Maersk has identified is the need to get the feedback from the offshore population, right? So when developing these, we need to make sure that we understand their workflows. We can assume how the workflow goes, right? But we need the input. We need them in the rollout groups. We need them in the feedback loops to tell us how does this workflow works, and if the solution that we're currently complementing or thinking of rolling out will actually benefit, and how we can get adaptation rate up. So I think rolling out new technology, the biggest challenge is adaptation. How do we get the offshore population to understand and be motivated by this new technology and understand that it's in the long run there to be more efficient for their operations and workflows as well. So I think high focus on adaptation and how we get adaptation as fast as possible by involving the guys that are actually going to be executing the work.
One of Maersk's stated goals with regards to climate action is the removal of inefficiencies in the value chain. What does that mean to you?
Well, I think improving the operational process is key in reaching that part of our target. And Maersk Drilling has for a long time had an ambition of smarter drilling for better value, which is a framework that is guided by the ambition to collaborate with our customer and with our suppliers, partners offshore, to go into collaborations where we can get equal benefit from these collaborations. So equal benefit out of improving the value chain. The drilling value chain is long and complex, and there's many processes and stakeholders involved. And if we can go in with a transparent and open mindset and discuss how we best optimize this value chain, how we best reduce waste out of that value chain, I think we can gain a lot of efficiency in the process. And with efficiencies, and the faster we drill and the more we gain, the less emissions we have while doing that, right? And I think we can show an example that we have an alliance with Aker BP in Norway, and an alliance partner in Halliburton in that alliance as well. And last year, our rig, the Maersk Invincible, did a conductor run that was scheduled according to the plan for 38 days. They completed that in 24 days, which means they had a 36% reduction in time, hereby also a 36% reduction in emission. So it is possible. It requires hard work, but it is definitely possible to gain these efficiencies if we're all in it to collaborate.
Maersk has touted its energy emissions efficiency software, which is a cloud-based platform designed to monitor all energy use on board a rig using real-time data. The company has said that the system allows for continuous optimization. How does it do that?
Well, the energy emission efficiency system is focused on showing how energy is consumed. So it shows users a real-time picture of how and when energy is used on the rig. This means that when we get access to that data onshore, and the offshore guys also have access to that data, we can forecast and evaluate whether or not we have a need to have all engines online, less engines online. How can we optimize the equipment in use right now to to be a less emission, or to have less emissions, right? So it provides a real-time overview of our energy consumptions, and it allows us to optimize based on that. And I think we are hoping that will also in the long run provide an opportunity to see behavioral changes, right? Because when you have access to this data, you can also start to impact behaviors.
How much potential do you think the cloud systems can have in helping you and perhaps the industry at large reach carbon emissions reduction targets?
I think definitely the cloud software has potential to help us, both in the emission reductions, but also in general with this digital agenda that's coming to the industry right now. So I think it's for both, right? For the energy emissions efficiency, that's one example. It's collecting the data, and it's giving us the opportunity to see that data real time, onshore, offshore, and thereby creating synergies and suggestions for optimization that can come from several different angles of our workforce, right? So that's one way where we can broaden out the information that we have and the data we have to seek more input. I think another one that we can show as an example is our drilling process platform that we're currently piloting with one of our customers. This is also a cloud-based tool that's actually trying to gather the data that the customer's drilling department and wells department usually have, and then what our operations department on the rig usually uses. And those processes today are very much paper born, right? That they have papers going back and forth discussing well plans and discussing different things. Making that digital in a cloud, we also believe will make a lot of processes and a lot of decision making much easier and much more efficient. And I think that will also give us a great benefit.
Energy emissions efficiency is one of the upgrades in the low emissions package that Maersk is installing on the Maersk Intrepid jackup, which is set to become a hybrid powered low emission rig. What other upgrades have you made or will you make on this rig?
So on the Maersk Intrepid, we've installed 3 upgrades. We have installed the energy emission efficiency, as we talked about, but then secondly, we've installed a system called the Energy Storage System, ESS, which is basically a battery solution creating a hybrid opportunity for us. It's like a hybrid car. It's installed to level out power peaks so that the batteries can step in whenever there's a power peak on the rig. This allows us to optimize again engine use and how we run our engines, which is extremely impactful in comparison to what emissions a rig have. It's of course our engines, right? So this allows us to have a more steady engine pressure and thereby or run on the engines and thereby more controlled emissions. The third thing we've installed is an SCR system, which is a selective catalytic reduction system. It's basically a scrubber that we've installed on the exhaust from the main engines that removes NOx gas from the exhaust. So that also that reduces our NOx emissions significantly. And as I said, the installations have been done on the Intrepid. We are currently running and drilling on the Intrepid, and we are getting the first results in. So we are very eagerly awaiting our ability to do the first baselining to see how much effect this has had on our emissions. The second rig that is getting ready to go online with all 3 installations is the Maersk Integrator, and we hope that will be commissioned and completed with all 3 systems online around New Year's, just after New Year's. So we will have 2 weeks in Norway with these 3 systems on board.
What are some of the technical challenges to upgrading a rig to hybrid power?
Well, we've had lots of good challenges while implementing these solutions. I think one of the main ones is in the development of the solution. How do we make a drilling rig has a certain size, so we are also limited by a footprint that we kind of need to make these solutions fit into a certain footprint. We need to find technology that will work in the circumstances that we work under, which is constrained by regulations and other stuff. So it's definitely been challenging to get the solution approved and functional. And then the installation has been at least challenged with COVID this year, which was of course not in our plans, that we had to take in a little bit of quarantine and then delays in our installations. But in general, implementing new technology, when it is prototyping and first time, it is getting everything right, getting everything into the right space and fit it to the surrounding that it needs to be in. So we've had some challenges, but we've overcome them. So we are very happy to see this coming online.
You previously mentioned the Maersk Invincible. In 2017, the Maersk Invincible became the first harsh environment jackup to operate entirely on hydropower from the shore, as opposed to using diesel engines and generators. Could you tell us more about this? Does Maersk hope to make renewable powered rigs a priority moving forward?
Well, to tell about the Maersk Invincible. So the Maersk Invincible was actually from yard because we knew we were going to the Valhall field, designed to receive shore power. So the Valhall field is electrified by because it receives shore power from Norway, right? So we got the power from the Valhall field and the cable that the Valhall field gets from onshore. And then the Invincible was ready to, it didn't need modifications to receive that. I think also knowing that the power in Norway is mainly generated by hydropower, so we could say that actually reduced our emissions by nearly 100% to put the Maersk Invincible on shore power. So that was a great opportunity for us. And actually the Maersk Invincible is back now at the Valhall field on shore power. So it's a great opportunity. I think the solution is there's high potential. However, it has a limited range, right? So it will be relevant for near shore locations where a cable from shore is actually a possibility. In the floater segment, we will be challenged to accommodate shore power.
So is it a realistic goal down the line then to have a fleet of shore-powered rigs?
I don't think so. I think we would, of course, hope and aim as many as we can within the bounds of opportunity, right? So again, any platforms that are near shore that has the ability to get shore power, of course, that's an ideal solution for us. However, as I just mentioned, the floater segment out on deeper waters, out on more remote locations, that is, it's not an opportunity to bring shore power to these locations, right? But that also then represents the challenge in our emission targets, right? That is where we have a challenge, and we need to come up with some new solutions to help out the floater segment.
So what are the challenges in developing renewable powered floaters? I mean, we talked about the shore power, and obviously for reducing emissions, if that was at all feasible, that would be a huge development. What do you think are some of the challenges there?
Well, I think for the floater segment, there's definitely opportunities. There's the hybrid opportunities that we're currently implementing on our jackup rigs, the battery solutions, the NOx emission solutions. They are definitely an opportunity on a floater segment. But the shore power aspect is more difficult, right? Because rarely would you see them drilling so close to shore that shore power would be an opportunity. But I think definitely there's opportunities for the floater segment within the hybrid and the battery, And also, as I mentioned in the beginning, maybe on the longer run, there's fuels like hydrogen or ammonia that comes and can be a fuel for the floaters, right? But it's just those developments are on a further out path. They're just they have a longer development track, and they require more modifications on our rigs than we're currently looking at.
In June 2020, Maersk joined a major Danish CO2 storage consortium. That consortium also has an ambitious goal in regards to emissions reductions to store approximately 3.5 million tons of CO2 per year by 2030. What is it about this consortium that makes you think that this goal is feasible?
I think in the Project Greensand consortium, the aim is to store captured CO2. So the intent is to capture CO2 onshore by large industries or by power plants, get it to the offshore installation and inject it into an already depleted reservoir. That's the basic concept of it. And I think seeing as a lot of that is already known technology, we believe the concept has great potential. The project is currently in a validation phase, right? So we can't guarantee success. We're validating if our assumptions and thesis are actually correct around a lot of these things. So we are validating if it makes sense. But there's a lot of indications that things we have a lot to build on. We have, as I said, we have CO2 capture. It's not new. That has been done since the 70s. CO2 injection has also been done, for example, by Equinor. We have depleted reservoirs. We have offshore installations already. There needs maybe modifications on the wells so that they get ready for the injection of the CO2. But a lot of the structure is available and in place. And I think that gives us a belief that there's something there, and there's something that there's a role we can play as Maersk Drilling in that connection. I think what we need and what we see as a major driver is getting the right incentives in place by regulation and by business models, right? Because if they're not in place, bringing this to scale is going to be challenging.
Do you think carbon capture can have a meaningful impact on reducing emissions?
Yes, I definitely believe so. I think it will definitely play a role in reaching some of the ambitious goals that's also been set in, for example, the Paris Agreement. I think it will definitely play a role. It might be a transitional phase that we use it for, transitional until technologies that are currently further out in their development gets brought online and comes in and adds value. But I think definitely for the near term, this is an opportunity that we will have to evaluate and look further into. I think you can also see that there's governments around the world. Also, the Danish government is picking up on this. The Danish government has made carbon capture and storage one of their 4 green missions to research officially. So it's getting on the attention of a lot of regulators and governments as well. So I definitely think there's something here we can get an opportunity out of.
Well, Ms. Alting, thank you for speaking with us today. And we know that sustainability and carbon emissions are fundamental issues, challenges facing the industry today, and your insight is very much appreciated. Thanks again.
Thank you very much for having me.
And thank you for visiting Drilling Contractor.